So it has been nearly a decade, only off by a couple of months, since the last Ultimate Alliance game came out, Marvel Ultimate Alliance 2, and I played that one quite a bit. I like the Ultimate Alliance series. I like X-Men Legends. These co-op beat-em-up action RPG style games are a lot of fun, at least to me they are. So, of course, when I hear about Ultimate Alliance 3, naturally I get pretty excited, but it has been quite a while since I've really played one of these games. So I guess the question would be, does something like Ultimate Alliance, in this case Ultimate Alliance 3, still hold up in 2019 in current gaming times? And I guess the answer to that would be, yeah, it does. So let's start with the look of this game. They kind of went with a cel-shaded style look to it, which does kind of make it look like it's kind of come right out of the comic books, right out of the panels of the comic books. And I like that, actually. If they tried to make it look a bit more realistic, I mean, I guess the older ones, they kind of did that. I like the more cel-shaded look. I think it looks more artistic and everything, and I think it fits in much better with what they're going for here. In fact, a lot of issues have been had with what the Avengers game looks like that's being done by Square right now, specifically the stunt doubles that they're calling the characters for the game. And I actually prefer that they would have done something like this that looks a bit more like it's out of the comic book. So I'm fine with how the game looks, but there is a bit of an issue when it comes to the aliasing in the game. What I mean by that is you can see the stair-step effect all over the place, like everywhere. In fact, that's something I hope they fix in an update. You can see it around your character models. You can see it on hard edges around the environment, on steps, everywhere. And it did get to the point where it was noticeable. I do have an M cable, and it did help a little bit, but it was so bad, even the M cable was tapping out to this thing. So it's something I hope they work out in a patch. I think that they were heavily focused on the frame rate, and that's something that I can appreciate. However, the frame rate does still struggle at times when there's just all kinds of stuff going on screen, which is one of the big things of Ultimate Alliance, because you're, of course, teaming up with different people who are playing, and you, of course, have all these super moves and powers and screen-filling abilities, and that can, at times, make the game slow down a bit. But I am fine with them focusing on frame rate, but I hope in a patch somewhere down the line they do look at visual quality of this game. Now, if you have not played an Ultimate Alliance game or an X-Men Legends or anything like that, you might be wondering what exactly this game is. Well, you could kind of compare it to, I guess, Diablo, right? It's similar to Diablo. It's not as deep in terms of the stats and RPG elements and gear and everything as what's found in Diablo, but you would, I guess, compare it to that, right? It's an action RPG kind of top-down style, and it's designed so that you and 3 other people can play together locally, and that is by far the best experience. If you don't have anyone to play with locally, you can also go online with it, but if you're just going to play by yourself, you will be playing with 3 bots, so keep that in mind, right? You're basically always playing with 4 characters on screen, and the idea is to run through different story scenarios, and it plays out, and it's actually pretty fun. Now, the whole thing is centered around collecting the different Infinity Stones, so obviously the universe and everything doesn't get destroyed and whatnot, but it at least puts everything in motion, and the characters get introduced in different ways, and it's really, really fun. I don't even want to show you the character select screen that I have at this time because, like, all of the spots are filled right now because I'm right at the end of the story mode. But there are some really fun characters that get added to this thing. And I think some people who aren't as initiated, I should say, with the Marvel Universe, and I guess if you just watch the Marvel movies, you should still know most of the characters, but even then, you're still going to be caught off guard because there are some out there characters thrown in here, which is great for people who are really into the Marvel Universe, really into the comics. You might even be surprised by a few of these. That's why I don't even want to show you the character selection right now, because some of them even caught me off guard. However, I will say Daredevil and Ghost Rider are awesome in the game. I was very happy to see Daredevil in there. picked him right away. Let's go. We'll get Daredevil going. And I did change some characters around, but for the most part, I kept a select few that I was going to do on my first playthrough, and I think that was the best way to do it. But the game doesn't make you have to use the same characters pretty much the whole way through. In fact, it technically tries to get you to use other characters. It doesn't want you to just sit there and have to use each character, because when you're playing the game, you level up each character. So obviously it goes from 1 to, I believe the level cap is 50. And you might be thinking, well, great, let's say I get towards the end of the game and I want to grab one of the other characters to check them out or do some experimenting with your team setup and everything. Does that mean I have to go back and grind? Well, you can, but there is something that's great about this, and I'm glad they went this route. There is an entire thing that you have in the lab that is basically the sphere grid from Final Fantasy X. Now, this is called Alliance Enhancement, and the way this works is you work through different grids, and as you collect items and money, you can level up and move around the grids so that you will do things like enhance your strength or your energy that you use to do all your special moves, and then you have things like your critical rate will go up, right? Your energy refill will go up, how fast that happens. You can level up your defense, resilience, all of this stuff. And what's great about this is they're passive abilities that are shared across the board. So if you have a character that's like level 4 from like the beginning of the game or something like that, right? And you want to use them towards the end, you can. I think you still want to level them up some, but they're not going to just be thrown in without anything. Like, you will have stats that have boosted because you have worked on this, again, what I call the sphere grid throughout. And I like that a lot, because you can technically grab a different character, like Venom's been shown off. Let's say you get towards the end and you want to use Venom. You can grab him, throw him in your team, and start working through. He'll level up pretty quick because you're getting more experience with the tougher enemies, but he will actually be able to handle it. He'll be able to handle himself okay. I'll say that. More than you would expect for a character that's badly out-leveled at times.
Now that I'm out of that cell, I plan to stay out. You heroes aren't too bright, are you?
You stand no chance against my fury. Lightning strike!
Now, outside of the sphere grid that I keep calling it, you also have different abilities that you'll level up. You unlock them as you go through, so you unlock what, like 10, 15, 20 or whatnot, and then you can also level them up individually. Each character has 4 different abilities that you use and level up with, I believe, 4 different levels for each ability, and you pretty much earn ability points and everything as you go through. And some of these abilities are pretty cool. Some are not just screen-filling abilities. I noticed that Daredevil had a move that pretty much will help him focus and show weak points and stuff on enemies and help you defeat them easier, which was neat. But then, of course, you just have characters that will just blow everything up, right? There's one that Spider-Man has that's great, where he'll start shooting webs all over the place. He'll just spin in a circle, just start shooting webs everywhere. You have homing missiles from Iron Man. Storm will pretty much blow up everything around you. There are some really, really cool abilities in this game, and it's a lot of fun to just kind of set them all off, and the whole screen just explodes with everything. You also have ISO 8s, which are like these items that you can equip, and they just go further to enhance your passive abilities. Again, strength, recharge rate. Some of them actually will hurt stats, but then give you better stats in larger chunks. So it might give you better defense, but it will then lower your resilience, or just vice versa, things like that. So there is a bit of a pro and con to some of them, and then you can also level them up further, or you deconstruct them to get materials, and that way you can level up other ones. So there is, again, a bit deeper, but I think that's there to mostly replace weapons, for example, armor. These are all things you don't technically pick up. So there's no real big inventory system like you would have in a Diablo. These things just are not there. And that might be a turnoff for some people, not having epic armor to collect or anything like that. But outside of the story, which again moves forward pretty quick, fun fun reveals for characters and everything. There is one other thing that people are going to latch onto that is a bit of a challenge. Now, these are called Affinity Missions, and these act as more difficult challenges that you can go up against. So even if they tell you it's a certain level, like a level 10 or something, you actually probably want to be like 15 or 16, or you want to be above whatever the level is that they're asking you for, because the enemies are set up to be more difficult. Now, when you beat it, you get rewards that you can then use on your different characters and everything, whether it's more ability spheres or different things that will help you reset your stats, or more of the ISO 8 items. But they also have little pieces in there like beat it in under 2 minutes. And those are all things you can run through with friends, and you guys can have some fun completing the challenges together. I really like this idea, and there appear to be tons of them. I've worked through a few of them, and you find them as you go through the story mode. And then as you beat them, you'll also unlock more that, again, look kind of like a sphere grid, let's be honest. But that's a fun little way to do it. I do see an ending here where you finish all the Infinity Missions, you finish the story mode, and at that point, you're kind of just going through and leveling up characters. And there might be a point where people just are like, well, I'm all done. Okay. And that might be fine for some, right? Some people might be okay with that, but others might crave kind of that Diablo chase where you're always trying to get that epic armor and other things and loot and stuff. That just doesn't really exist in this game. So far, everything sounds pretty good, right? Well, I will give you some of the issues I have with the game as well, because no game is perfect, and so far, this is basically Ultimate Alliance and having fun with your friends. But if you are not playing with your friends and you are playing with computer-controlled companions, you're going to run into some issues, because the computer in this game is very dumb. There are times where I get frustrated, or I was when I was playing through the story, because they would just run into danger. I'll give you an example. There are bosses that have area effect abilities, and they choreograph these things to the point where it's so easy to get out of the way of them. They'll sit there and they'll charge up for like 5 seconds. And most of us who have played video games for a while, when we see an enemy crouching and, charging up with energy, most of us just move away from them, and especially if they have a circle drawn around them, and you're like, well, that's the area effect, I'm just going to get out of the way. The computer opponents stay in that area, and they keep punching him, and then they get blown away. And then you have a bunch of companions that have lost half their health. That is a consistent thing, unfortunately. There are other times where you were supposed to throw things at bosses that you're supposed to charge up and then throw them, and the computer-controlled your friends won't do that. So you definitely will have a better time if you have other actual people to play with, because they'll know what to do, and you guys can actually, figure all of this stuff out while you're playing. If you go online, the voice app actually works, believe it or not, with the phone. I don't like using the phone app, but it is there. So they did at least incorporate some sort of voice chat. This is a game that most people are going to want to play local co-op with, and you're going to have a blast doing that. That's just the way this is. That's kind of how Ultimate Alliance and X-Men Legends has always been, and this is still that game. If you have people coming over and you guys want to have some fun and play through something you guys can all do, this is the game. Also, the camera. The camera can be really tough sometimes. You will fight the camera. Sometimes you can't even do anything with the camera because it'll just cut off control of it, and you have some terrible views for this thing. Other times you'll kind of try to rotate around and you'll run into a wall and the camera won't move, and it's kind of bad in co-op as well at times because you might be hard seeing what's going on. So it's the camera, you fight a lot as well. But overall, I've enjoyed my experience with Ultimate Alliance 3. I think you can still have a ton of fun with it, even by yourself, which is, to be honest, how I've played most of this game so far. But it is a ton of fun if you have people to play with, and even if you go online, as long as you can find people that are willing to actually play the game right, you can have fun there too. Definitely, if you have some friends locally, it's a no-brainer. It's worth a pickup, especially if you guys enjoy kind of the MCU or you like seeing the movies and you're familiar with the characters. You'll definitely have a much better time if you have no idea what's going on in the Marvel Universe. But at that point, you're probably not looking at the game anyway because it's all Marvel characters, right? So that wouldn't make any sense anyway. But yes, tons of fun. I'm really enjoying my time with it, and I'm going to keep playing it probably up until the point that Fire Emblem comes out, but I'm just about done the story anyway. I'm right at the end, so I want to do my impressions of the game so far. But let me know what you guys think about this game, if you've already picked it up, and what you think of it, what you like, what you don't like. And hey, there's some DLC characters coming out too, so it at least sounds like they're going to have some new stuff to do in the game as we go forward. I hope they have missions and some storylines set up for some of these characters as well in the story mode, just to give us more stuff to play through. Thanks guys for watching. Make sure you like the video if you enjoyed it, dislike if not, and I'll see you guys next time.